Erev Tov, Bruchim Habayim. On behalf of my fellow Gala Chair and good friend Gary Ginsberg, it's with great pleasure and privilege to welcome everyone, both in the sanctuary and on Zoom, to tonight's Welcome Back T&V Gala. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to see so many people here in person together, back again, as well as so many on the Zoom tonight joining us from far and wide. 2 years ago, we gathered together online for what at that time was unprecedented and unimaginable, a virtual gala on Zoom. There was so much that was unknown, and we felt vulnerable individually and as a community. We had no idea when we would ever gather again in person for such celebrations. We didn't even know how our community would continue and what it would look like if we ever reached the other side of the pandemic. By all reasonable and rational expectations, we should not be here today. We should not have remained united together for so many months without being in person. We should not have been able to survive financially through such challenging times. And yet here we are tonight, not fully returned to normal, but yet able to welcome each other back. We remain the extraordinary extended family we have always been. We may not look exactly as we did 3 years ago, but I believe we are a stronger community than ever, possessing at its core the same values and qualities that attracted all of us here over the years to this wonderful community that we call home. Supporting and comforting each other, celebrating and rejoicing together, maintaining the strength that enabled us to take a leap of faith by completing the enormous achievement of the capital project we also celebrate tonight. Having the audacity to not only survive, but to grow and adapt and thrive. Through technology and perseverance, we had the courage and confidence to maintain shul services and classes, Hebrew school and youth programming, concerts and Purim celebrations, and even annual galas. And as always, so many of you who are able, to the best of your ability, stood up and stepped forward and ensured our continuity with the most generous financial support, as so many of you have continued to do tonight. How grateful we are to each and every one of us. Although we do celebrate this milestone capital project achievement, which will enhance so much of what we do, T&V has always been defined not by our building and physical plant, but by our people. The most caring and giving, compassionate and loving leadership in both our exceptional clergy and professionals, who we recognized and honored at last year's gala, and our extraordinary lay leadership, who we recognize and honor tonight. This evening, we will express our gratitude for the gifts of leadership of Nina and Pat, who led us through this seeming wilderness these past 3 years. We will have the opportunity to express our gratitude and admiration to Bradley and our Capital Project Steering Committee for their shepherding the capital project through most challenging times and conditions. But first, we want to recognize the heart of who we are, the astounding and continuing growth of our young leadership, new singles, new couples, new young families, new friends from our conversion center. All of them bring a future of hope and promise, diversity and inclusion, values that have always defined T&V. T&V was a community that welcomed Arthur and me and my generation 40 years ago, hard to imagine, when we were young and new and growing families. They took a leap of faith with us, deferring to our judgments, passing on the leadership mantle with confidence and assurance without hesitation. And the greatest sign of our continued strength is that thankfully we do the same today with the new generation of young leaders and young families. Look at our capital projects group, our board, our COVID-19 task force. We don't just relegate our younger leadership to a token auxiliary group. Rather, they are an integral part of our leadership team, of our shul community, of our future. No one exemplifies this more than tonight's young leadership honoree, Evelyn Litwinoff. 10 years ago, as a young 20-year-old, she found the T&V community, and with her warm personality and exceptional Torah reading and synagogue skills, She was embraced immediately by all, becoming a regular and active participant at Shabbat services. But more than that, she had the insight and vision of what our community could mean, not only for her, but for a new generation of young members. And so Evelyn being the person who she is, jumped right in and became a leader of the 20s and 30s Friday night group that Eva Stern had pioneered. She took this Friday night group to new levels, but she also understood that it would be the informal relationships and connections among this new generation, as well as intergenerationally, that would ultimately impact our community's future. So again, Evelyn, being the leader she is, took on this mission. Shabbat and holiday meals at home, social activities. She was a natural leader, drawing others into her ever-growing and expanding circles. And after meeting the love of her life, Hanoch, they together reached out to other young couples. Similarly, after Elan was born, she reached out to other young families with both social gatherings and Shul Shabbat programming during these most difficult pandemic years. As a critical member of the COVID-19 task force, she ensured that we maintain both our safety and our engagement with others, especially young families and children. When we started returning to Shul, I was struck by the number of newer and younger members who had become connected, and the common thread was always Evelyn. There was never a void that Evelyn would accept. She made sure to fill that void at every turn, never accept the status quo when it wasn't meeting our needs or our mission. And that is why we honor her tonight with love and admiration and gratitude. She represents the epitome of leadership, continuing our mission of building a community of welcome and inclusion and outreach. And so it is with great pride and pleasure to present tonight's Young Leadership Award to our colleague, our friend, and extended family member, to our inspiring leader, Evelyn Litwinoff, with enormous admiration, appreciation, and love. Mazal Tov. The print that we're presenting actually to all the honorees tonight, I think is extremely appropriate. The quote is from Masechet Ta'anit, and it says, "Just as my ancestors planted for me, I also plant for my children." And I think that exemplifies the continuity of generations that defines T&V and always will define who we are. And it says in the bottom, "Presented with appreciation and admiration to Evelyn Litwinoff for your vision and commitment to our community's future, Town and Village Synagogue, June 23rd, 2022, 24th of Sivan, 5782. Mazal Tov.
My hope was to be with you in person tonight to celebrate this great moment in our shul's long and proud history, and I would have been but for an unavoidable conflict. But I did not want to miss this opportunity to congratulate my longtime friend and colleague, Bradley Tusk, for his extraordinary leadership and generosity in spearheading our successful capital campaign. I've known Bradley for almost 20 years. I've seen him apply his prodigious talents in so many contexts to make our city better, to make voting more equitable, and to fight hunger in America. Whenever and wherever his talents are needed, he always answers the call and he gets things done. There's a reason he titled his fabulous memoir, The Fixer. So when our shul was in desperate need of structural improvements pre-pandemic, it was no wonder that Bradley would step in and agree to chair the capital campaign. And he ran it like everything else, with efficiency and steadfastness. He was the catalyst for undertaking our original master plan, and when the plan was done and the need for capital became the issue, he opened his heart and his pocketbook to ensure that our temple would be structurally sound for many decades to come. His generosity enabled us to come back together and to rekindle relationships that make this such a special place. This year marks my family's 20th anniversary as congregants. I was first drawn to Town and Village in 2001 when I snuck upstairs from the community service to listen to Rabbi Siebert's stirring Rosh Hashanah sermon in the aftermath of 9/11. His words resonated deeply that morning, and I knew in that moment that this was where I wanted to make my spiritual home and to raise my boys as conservative Jews. And what a home it has been for all of us. I am grateful to Rabbi Siebert and Cantor Postman for creating such a warm and inviting environment for my family. And I'm grateful for the friends I've made through the years. First and foremost, our current president and gala honoree, Nina Lehman. Like Bradley, Nina gets things done. She proved that for years, providing the shul with a steady stream of compelling adult programming. And she's proved it again now as president and during a pandemic, no less. Her commitment to getting us back together as quickly as possible, despite the enormous obstacles before us, was truly heroic. And it didn't hurt that she had by her side her first friend, Pat Schatt, who was equally committed to ensuring the success of the capital project and protecting the health of our community. She was brilliant in ensuring the money that was raised for our renovations were properly and efficiently spent. We have so much to celebrate tonight: our cohesiveness, our resilience, and our commitment to each other and to the shul. I'm sorry I won't be celebrating with you in person, but I'm with you in spirit. Enjoy the evening.
We were living in Chicago, had our daughter, and moved back to New York. We're living in the neighborhood, and we're looking for a synagogue. Met with Rabbi Siebert, liked him a lot, and have been with him ever since. This is an institution, actually, that runs on an incredibly low budget. The reason that's possible is because you have so many dedicated members who are really willing to supplement and put time and work in. The capital project was so important because the money, the things that we're doing are really mission critical. We're talking about basic access for disability, fixing cracks in the infrastructure. To me, that both felt important in terms of my own ability to be supportive and money we could raise. It's the sense that it's a community you can rely on. Rabbi Siebert's here, the team is here, they're available, and I just like being part of that kind of community and structure. Collectively, we make a decision that we want this place to exist, it adds value to our lives, and therefore we will invest time and resources to try to make that happen. And I think the fact that there's enough people who care enough to keep this place afloat and keep donating money for the things that really matter is a testament to the role that it serves.
Thank you so much, Evelyn and Bradley, who we just heard about, and Nina and Pat, who we're going to hear about in just a little while. Thank you all for your stellar leadership. Our community members are all of us here tonight, those on Zoom and beyond, are so incredibly grateful for your stellar leadership. We're beyond grateful for all that you've shared of yourselves in your leadership roles. A few verses from Psalms have been running through my head as I reflect on your being honored this evening. One of the verses is one that we recite during Hallel. Even ma'asu habonim haita l'rosh pina. a stone that was disregarded by builders has become a cornerstone. I thought of this verse from Psalms because it's about a building, and we're celebrating our building. But it's also about how you never know who's going to become a cornerstone, right? You step forward in a leadership position, and you never know what kind of impact you're going to make on the community. And in so many important ways that we've heard and that we'll continue to hear this evening, each of you has become a cornerstone of our community. And you, in many ways, already were, but even more so in the last few years. In stepping boldly into these leadership roles, you've helped us not only reinforce our physical building, our foundational building, in ways we can observe and quantify in ways that we saw in the video just now, but you've also strengthened our community in ways that transcend measurement. You have helped us fortify our connections to one another. Your leadership has allowed our community to continue to cultivate meaningful relationships with our newest, littlest members to those who've been in our community from the very start. With your help, we've been able to sustain and even build our programming despite the challenges of these last few years. T&V is beyond grateful to have such superlative volunteers on so many levels. Again, many of you are here tonight, some of whom are here on Zoom, and then beyond. But we're so grateful to our honorees among them, again, for what they have helped build literally and figuratively, for the mensches they are, for the wonderful collaborators and partners that they've been, not only to their actual families, but to those of us who we hope they consider their extended T&V family. The other verse that comes to mind when thinking about this evening and this last year is the verse that we're going to sing now. Samachti be'omrim li beit Adonai nelech. I was so happy when they told me I was going to the house of God. When we all look at us here tonight, you know, for the first time gathering together in our house of God. And that's a beautiful sound, and we love that sound. And that's a great sound to have in our building. And we're back in our sanctuary, and we're just grateful. And the final verses of this song, we also say to everyone, again, here in the room, here on the Zoom, and beyond, L'ma'an achai v'rayai adarbana shalom bach, L'ma'an beit Adonai Eloheinu avaksha tov lach. We pray for you shalom, for peace, and tov, for goodness unto everyone.
Om Pat Schatt wears many hats. Our beautiful shul is restored, and for that she is adored. From lighting and heating and wires, with construction people she had to conspire. In all kinds of weather she held it together, and the final job we admire. And Larry stood by with a smile to support her all the while. No matter the stress and the duress, he knew it would be worthwhile. And I stand proud by her side, as in our wonderful shul we abide, this fabulous place filled with joy and grace. Pat, your honor is justified.
What Pat has done at T&V at an incredibly important time was to apply sort of her professional skills and her relationships to getting an important project done.
Some of the major things we needed to accomplish was to replace our air conditioning and heating system. We had a kitchen that was not fully functional, and we needed to, as part of our greening effort, convert from oil to natural gas. Pat Schatt made it happen.
My mother's really good at being able to handle all the different entities that are involved in a project like this, because that is what she lived and breathed in her career. She was an operations manager for a real estate management company, but her vision and her goal was to create housing and community for low socioeconomic populations, and to be able to elevate them so that they can sustain themselves and they can have a supportive environment.
Pat would go into the most incredibly cluttered apartments. We had a lot of boarders with people who were reluctant to interact with the outside world. And instead of trying to remove them, she would work with them, she would help them. That's the kind of thing that she brought in addition to her professionalism.
She knew, I think, what contractors and what kind of people she needed to talk to get the job done.
We had to deal with Con Edison. We had to deal with the MTA because we are adjacent to the L line. We had to deal with the Department of Buildings, with our architects, with our plumbers, with the fire department. And often when inspectors came and approved part of the project, they came up with new things to do. Pat's tolerance was remarkable.
She brought her skills to bear on the project, but she also brought her sense of commitment to the Jewish community that she's been a part of.
I think she has always felt a tremendous personal, social, and religious dedication to the shul. She certainly has a very strong commitment to what conservative religion stands for.
I think that my mother has chosen to dedicate her retirement to volunteering for T&V Village, because over the last 40 years, T&V Village has given so much to our family as a place where we would spend Shabbatot, where I attended USY, where my mother found a community within Greenwich Village that was really special to her.
She's trying to do the right thing and live a just life, and in the course of that, to change the course of other people's lives and improve their lives.
Pat, it was a joy to work with you. I have to tell you, after all this time together, I love you.
We think that Big Bubby, or Auntie Eve to me, would be so proud of you.
Mom, I love you so much. Mazel tov. I'm so glad we could be here today to celebrate with you.
I applaud you, and I just can't say enough about how wonderful you are. Mazel tov.
Mazel tov, Bubby. We love you so much.
Continue with the good fight.
Wow, what an amazing video. No, it's terrific. It's really a terrific zchut. It's a privilege for me to be here to say a few words to my mother-in-law. I want to speak and say a few words from the Mishnah in Masechet Avot, better known as Pirkei Avot. One of the teachings of Rabban Gamliel beno shel Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi. Rabban Gamliel, the son of Rabbi Yehuda HaNasi, has some really interesting things to say, but in the middle of when he's talking, he wants to say a few words to people who are leaders of the community. So what more appropriate words from the Mishnah to say than those from Rabban Gamliel? which are pointed to community leaders. And he says, "V'chol ha'amelim im hatzibur, yu amelim imahem l'shem shamayim." Those of you who are involved in doing work for the community, thanks. Sure. This is great. Can people not hear me? Do I have to start again? I only have 3 minutes. I should do it from the other podium. How about now? Okay, here we go. All who labor for the community should do so for the sake of heaven. Implicit in that statement is, don't think that if you're going to become a community leader, that you should do it for your own glory, because it never works out that way. You have to make sure that your intentions are in the right place, and the effort and desire that you put into moving a project along is done for the community. And he continues and explains, "Sheschut avotan mesayatan v'tzidkatan omedet la'ad." Because the merit of their forefathers sustains them, and their righteousness endures forever. Now there's a really interesting disagreement about how to interpret this passage. I'll share with you 2 ways. One is, be aware of the fact that your community is made up of people who are here for a reason, and many of them are here because of the generations of those who came before them. So be aware that when you are motivated to do something for your community, it's not just for you. There is a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. But the other side of that interpretation is, Schut avotan mesayatan, the community leaders, their own forefathers and the examples of their parents, serve to help them become leaders of their community. And in my mother-in-law's case, this is certainly true, that her parents were strong community leaders, and I am proud to say that for my children, she serves as a terrific example of what it means to be a leader and a part of a community. And he concludes his statement, Rabban Gamliel, by pointing and saying specifically to those community leaders. Now, we know from the Talmud that it was no simple task for the rabbis to try and get members of their community to take on leadership roles. There are fantastic stories of them standing before people in the community trying to get them to become leaders, and basically one after the other refuses. So they know it's a difficult job, so you have to provide some kind of support for them and explain why it's important. So at the end of his statement, Rabban Gamliel turns to the community leaders who have taken on the task and says to them, Ve'atem, and you community leaders, ma'aleh ani alechem sachar harbe ki'ilu asitem. I credit you with a rich reward as if you yourselves had actually accomplished it all. No community leader is able to accomplish everything that they do. Nobody is able to build something on their own. Nobody can do it all by themselves. But everybody who dedicates themselves and has the right intention in doing so ultimately receives the merit as if they have done it all. So it is with great honor that I want to say Mazal Tov to you, Mazal Tov to all of the honorees, and thank you all for everything that you've done for this fantastic community. Yes. Please come up. All right, guys, don't drop it. It's glass. It's not glass. It might be glass. All right, let Bobby do his thing. Come on.
I want to, I'm so profoundly grateful for the heartwarming words of praise, support, and love. Okay.
I was on the AV committee in high school.
Oh, very good. I didn't know that. We'll tap into that more. I'm so profoundly grateful for the heartwarming words of praise, support, and love that have been spoken about me tonight in person by my son-in-law, Jason, in the video by my daughter, Dara, and my grandchildren, my cousins, Elisa and Dan, and my dear friends, Linda and Jeff Field, Leon Ashner, and Linda Kamas, and in the many written tributes included in the Gala Journal. I am also truly grateful for the privilege of being one of tonight's honorees in recognition of my work on the Capitol project. However, I would seriously be remiss if I didn't clearly state that the success of the Capitol project, which at this point is about 98.5% complete, most definitely is not due to me alone. It was a vision that became a reality due to an entire team of people who include the very generous chairperson, Bradley Tusk, and members of the steering committee, all of whom are co-honorees. Members of the Capitol Project Management Committee that I chair, who include our amazing and incredible president, Nina Lehman, another co-honoree, our wise and detailed-oriented House VP, Leon Ashner, our chief organizer and decorator par excellence, Sarah Jane Sachs, our unflappable and creative consultant, Debbie Hirschman, and our beloved facilities manager, Taras Mediuk, who has literally lived and breathed the construction project on a daily basis, serving as our on-site eyes and ears. Our professional consultants, Debbie Hirschman, members of the MBB architectural team, Taylor Aiken, Sarah Grant, and Vaughn Lewis, and Wendy Wendrowski, our pro bono construction attorney from the firm of Seyfarth Shaw. The two members of the Capitol Project Fund Governance Committee, Gary Mund and Carol Green, who are responsible for giving final approval for each and every Capitol Project invoice after carefully reviewing each one for both legitimacy and accuracy. Members of T&V's Board of Trustees, who monitor both the construction progress and its costs. Our wonderful and dedicated clergy, Rabbi Siebert and Cantor Postman, who have so deftly adapted to each and every construction hardship and or setback without ever missing a beat, never uttering a disparaging word, only offering words of support and encouragement throughout the entire ordeal. And last but not least, all the T&V members and friends who have so generously donated and pledged funds to the Capitol Project campaign. To all of you, I say kol hakavod, and thank you so very much. I also want to give a huge thank you, hug, and kiss to my dear husband, Larry. Whose loving support has given me the strength and stamina to navigate the odyssey of the T&V Capitol Project, a journey that is thankfully nearly finished. And to Hugh Pollack, Sarah Jane Sachs, Carol Slotkin, Debbie Hirschman, Cantor Postman, all the many Gala committee members who have worked so tirelessly to organize this splendid Welcome Back celebration. To all of this evening's sponsors and contributors, and to all of you here and on Zoom who are attending this event, I say from the bottom of my heart, Toda Rabbah, and may you continue to go from strength to strength.
I know. The other day I ran into a colleague, Rabbi Joe Potasnik, head of the New York Board of Rabbis. And he asked me, "Are you guys holding your own?" And I said yes. He said that was a good thing because so many synagogues, so many houses of worship across the religious spectrum are struggling and not doing so well. But in thinking about my answer to him the other day, I realized I was wrong. We're not holding our own. We are thriving. We are moving forward. We're not just keeping our heads above water. We're moving forward with strength, with purpose, and with great commitment. And in large part, that is due to the people we are honoring here this evening. Bradley Tusk stepped forward together with his incredible committee, giving freely, generously, of heart and of spirit, with the goal to provide us with a deep sense of stability, assuring us that we had the resources to move forward with this project. A project that meant rebuilding the underpinnings of our synagogue, which would in turn help us to thrive as a spiritual home for so many people. We wanted to make sure, and that was his goal, that this synagogue will stand strong for generations to come. Evelyn Litwinoff represents for us those future generations. Her optimism and her warmth, which she shares with Hanoch, a desire to build for our future, to be our future. It is with deep gratitude that we honor both Bradley and Evelyn here this evening, our foundation and our future. And as Bradley said in his video, this does not happen without hard work. The hard work that so many people in our congregation contribute day in and day out. Work by the members of our community, tireless efforts needed to sustain us. Two people here this evening literally held down the fort for us, kept our heads above water, made it possible for us to do so well these last few years, giving us this great sense of resilience, making it possible for us not only to survive, but to flourish. Every single Wednesday during pandemic, if you walked into our office, you would see Pat and Nina. They were here. They showed up. They came in each and every week to ensure that this community was able to operate smoothly. All of the nitty-gritty details that had to be taken care of here in the building, they took care of. They showed up here on behalf of all of us. They made it possible for us to literally breathe easier. Which brings me back to our Capital Projects Committee and to Bradley, to Leon Ashner, Gary Ginsberg, Jody and Craig Balsam, Claire Zuckerman, Beth Mann, Ben Cranes, and Hugh Pollack, all of whom supported what we wanted to do today. And because we had a master plan, we were able to shift our priorities to make everyone so comfortable as you are here this evening in this building, literally breathing easier, shifting to make our HVAC, which a term I wasn't familiar with until a couple of years ago, our number one priority. And it was Pat, who was our number one, who made it so, who made it happen. As you heard from Dara in the video, Pat has had years of experience making things right for people in their physical environment, which meant running countless construction projects throughout her career, running after contractors and suppliers to get things done. She brought all of that to bear for us here at T&V. And you are now enjoying the results of her work. The food that was prepared in our new kitchen, the comfortable space to sit and enjoy our community together. And as was described, her care for the individuals in her work during her career and here at T&V is essential to our success in getting us to this very point. I know how much I and Cantor Postman have appreciated your very kind guidance over these last few years, helping us figure out how to continue our services here in the sanctuary, on Zoom, and the way we serve our community, which was especially true for us during the high holidays, your help, but also at each and every inflection point, we turned to you for advice. Pat, we knew we could count on you. I knew I could count on you. That made a world of difference. And I so deeply appreciate what you have done for me personally and for this entire community. Toda rabah. When Nina became president, having spent many years as vice president of education and chair and co-chair with Milton of our adult education committee, her goal was to make T&V an even more formidable center of Jewish learning. It was not her dream to be a construction manager. You had already done it, but she hadn't, and she had you as a partner, which was very helpful. Nina, you led the way for all of us. You rolled with the punches. You rose to the occasion with a strength of will, with warmth, and with deep caring for the people around you. You became the leader that no one, least of all you, expected to be. But it came about so naturally, and at least to appearance, so easily. Every one of us has felt so much more secure these last few years because you, Nina, were at the helm of this congregation. Because of your deep, deep commitment to the Jewish people, your commitment to us, your people. For me personally, during these last 30-ish challenging months, knowing I had you as a partner, seeing our friendship grow through these challenges, made it all so much more doable. It really became easy. It was not just an appearance. I feel that this pandemic has helped us forge a great, deep relationship, you and I, but also with so many people here in this congregation, with all of our honorees. It has increased my respect and admiration for each and every one of you. This feeling of true friendship that we share now, because you have become the people that I know that I can rely upon. And that spirit has spread throughout this congregation. The adversity that we've experienced has deepened our love and our respect for one another, a realization that we truly can rely on each other. And it has deepened our commitment to be able to bounce back, to be better than we were before. Our response these last few months, with our honorees in the lead, sets the tone for everything that is yet to come for T&V. I was thinking this evening about the founders of our congregation, a group of women who got together to form a sisterhood. I don't think they imagined at that moment that there would one day be women leading this organization, women leading us organizationally and spiritually. So let us make the most of this moment to begin imagining what our future might be. And I look forward to joining all of you in creating that future together. I thank all of you for being here this evening. I thank our honorees. I want to give a special shout out to Hugh Pollack and Sarah Jane Sachs and Gary Ginsberg, who chaired this evening and made it such a beautiful night. I want to thank fellow staff members, Ariella, Taras, Carol, and our consultant par excellence, Debbie Hirschman, and Louise Sherby for organizing the journal this evening, and even Nina and Pat, who did so much to make this their own gala such a wonderful evening, and a host of others as well. Jason started with words of Torah from Pirkei Avot, and I'd like to add another Mishnah from Pirkei Avot. Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, v'lo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena. It is not your responsibility, it's not upon you to finish the work, although you're doing a very good job of it. V'lo ata ben chorin lihibatel mimena. And typically that is translated in, and nonetheless, you are not free to desist. Even though the work may seem endless, you have to keep going and keep pushing to get it to where you need it to be. I'd like to focus on the word ben chorin. We know that term from the Passover Seder. Ata, ata, b'nei chorin, right? We used to be slaves and now we are free. But b'nei chorin actually might be that we are the children and we are part of the elite, that we are part of the privileged class, which makes sense when you think about the Passover Seder, because we're supposed to treat ourselves as leaning one way in divans, treating ourselves as privileged individuals, enjoying the evening. So what I think, though, that you're not free to desist, it also means that whoever you are, you don't have the privilege of not working. Everyone is in this together, whoever you are, whatever you're doing. And that is our job together as a community to work towards our future. I want to thank again our honorees, wish them Mazal Tov, Nina, Pat, Evelyn, and Bradley, and thank you, all of you, for being here this evening.
She's really at core about family and about community and about building that and making people feel like they're part of something that's bigger than themselves.
Nina has had many roles at T&V.
Nina's been president for the past 3 years. She's the lawyer. She understands numbers. She's capable in many areas. She reads well, and she knows how to deal with people.
I think it was hard enough to live through COVID, let alone try to steer a community of people who all have different opinions and different interests. But I think my mom, she has a propensity to want to take on challenges.
I think it was her spirit that not only enabled the synagogue to just survive, but to really flourish.
Nina has a lot of technical skills and know-how. She was really one of the driving forces behind trying to make our community virtual. I think Winston Churchill said, never let a crisis go to waste. And I think the crisis of having the building being unused during COVID was also an opportunity to do some improvements. So I think the physical space is part of her legacy, but I think more important is the resilience that she has exemplified and also inspired in us to try to deal with this unprecedented crisis.
She also is the educational mentor, and so she's in charge of adult education programs, book clubs. Nina's always educating.
She has contributed enormously to the quality and the opportunities for people to continue to learn as Jewish adults.
One thing in particular that my mom has always done is instilled in me a passion for learning and for Jewish learning in particular. That's made me who I am today, and being able to share that with my child as well was one of the things I was most excited about.
It's who she is. I think it's kind of in her DNA. You know, she's always volunteering, she's always teaching, she's always leading.
I think one thing my mother loves about T&V is how it's such a home and comfort to so many people. Another thing, I think she really values how diverse and inclusive this community is.
She recognizes that it's not enough to live in New York and to take advantage of what's here. You really need to establish connections with your neighbors, with your friends, with people with whom you share values.
She has a wisdom that's always been there, how to extend herself to be helpful to all those who she can help.
The first night I had to spend alone with my newborn, my mother came over with my favorite meal and told me I was doing a really good job as a mother. That was exactly what I needed in the moment, and she knew that was exactly what I needed in the moment.
I think the fact that we're all together and that we've maintained these connections is a real testament to her leadership over these past 3 years.
Nina, we are so proud of you.
Nina, darling, and Yashikoa.
Congratulations on finishing your term as president of T&V with such success and grace.
We love you. Mazel tov. L'chaim.
You deserve endless recognition and gratitude for all you've done for this community and for our family.
Mom, I'm so proud of you. I love you. Mazel tov.
Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan, Nina's son. They cut me out of the video. That's a joke. I switched schools for 5th grade and started taking a bus to the North Bronx. The thing was, what with afternoon traffic and virtually every other kid getting dropped off uptown, the bus couldn't make it back down to 14th Street in time for my Hebrew school classes. I'd be too late. So every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, my mom got in the old Ford Taurus and came and picked me up. And we endured early rush hour, and we traded Strauss for Smash Mouth on the radio. And I probably sulked, and she probably brought Ziplocs full of snacks. She didn't like driving, and if you'll forgive me a mini roast, she wasn't good at it. But she did it gladly. She sacrificed her afternoons because it was important to her, then as now, 25 years later, to be part of this community at Town and Village, to prize a Jewish education, to give and ask nothing in return, to set an example of engagement for her family and her peers. From Class Hay or Vav chauffeur to indispensable president of the synagogue, what a ride. Those same things have been true. And as we gather here this evening, we're grateful she made that commitment, and we're very proud of her for keeping it. For my mom, so much of being a Jew is about loving her family, feeding us with chicken dinners, and the spiritual nourishment of upholding the Jewish tradition's sacred rituals. It's about making friends, so many are here tonight, and caring for them and kibitzing with them, in whispers along a pew, over meals in the sukkah, in the comforting routine of a phone call. It's about the value of Jewish education, reading and studying, recommending and lending her books, discussing and sharing ideas with all those who come to learn. And it's about serving the Jewish community, in particular this community, with the generosity we all know her for. I don't know all the details of her work at the shul. Part banker, the fundraising and financial planning, part public health official in navigating the protocols of a pandemic, part librarian, part people manager and legislator and diplomat. I didn't ask much, maybe as much as I should have, and she didn't often volunteer the inner workings of the Oval Office. I do know what she poured in of herself, the time and energy and mental bandwidth she devoted, the stress that could come with it. And what are you up to today, Mom? On my way to T&V, with maybe a little sigh, but always a smile. We've all been the better for those efforts. We're here thanking Mom But I want to conclude by thanking T&V, all the people who comprise its wonderful, living, breathing, evolving community, for creating that space for my mom to make the emotional investment, for being her partners in her many initiatives. Most importantly, for welcoming our family, 3 generations of it now, embracing us in labor and joy and sorrow. From the first time she pulled up in the Taurus and I hopped out, to the end of this presidency, and we hope for many, many days to come. Mom, please come join me up here.
So as always, my dear friend Pat has done the heavy lifting and thanked everyone we needed to thank. So I'd just like to thank, in addition, Larry for lending me Pat for many, many hours, and to my own family for all their love and support. I know that you have been legal counsel, financial advisor, and everything else to Town and Village through me. Over the past 3 years. It has been a challenge, but most of all, it's been a great privilege. Thank you.
We welcome Cantor Postman and the choir, and I want to actually say a very special thank you to the cantor. Particularly over these last few weeks, I'm sure that all of these things behind the scenes that had to be taken care of were done by her in my absence, and I thank her for filling in on so many levels and for being such a great partner.
Thank you for coming back from your sabbatical. But Rabbi, you know it takes a town and a village. Toward the end of our program this evening, we have a couple final words of joy and prayer, and we hope actually you'll join with us for, it's really a Shehechianu evening, being back in our building again for our gala this year for the first time in 3 years to honor these amazing honorees. So if you're so inclined, you can join with us as we sing Shehechianu, and then we're gonna also share, I think, probably the prayer that's the most universal among all prayers, or not all prayers in all languages, but many of our faith communities, Hallelujah. Of course, we're going to sing it in Hebrew. But first, Shehechianu. And I hope those on Zoom are going to join us too. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Gets a second one, I think. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehechianu v'kimanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Hallelujah, birkia uzo Hallelu, Vigvuratam, Hallelu, Kerov Gudlo, Hallelu, El Mikosho, Hallelu, Vikia Uzo, Hallelu, Vigvuratam, Hallelu, Kerov Gudlo, Hallelu, Vitei Hashofar, Hallelu, Betega Ventinor, Hallelu, Betov Machot, Hallelu, Beminim Lehuga, Mazel tov. Toda rabah, mazel tov to our honorees. I know we have some final words, and we do want to thank Rabbi, how did you say it? Our consultant par excellence, I think you said, yes. So thank you, Debbie Hirschman, who will share a few final words.
This morning I was having breakfast with a person I met who then I learned was born in a Ukrainian Jewish home in Siberia and a Catholic home. And I said to her, tonight I get to be with one of the most exceptional communities I have ever met throughout my decades. You all exemplify everything that Judaism is meant to be. And I've had a privilege of being in many communities. And from the day I met this board to tonight, you stand above all. And I'm moved and privileged to have been on this journey with all of you. And one of the great Talmudic phrases that is very short is shtika kahodaya name, that if you are silent, it is an affirmation of what you have heard. So I am going to be silent and invite you all to dessert.
Everyone's invited downstairs for dessert, but I also wanted to just acknowledge and thank Debbie. She is a gift and a blessing to us, having the consummate professional in New York Jewish life, and she was a driving force with the steering committee with the gala tonight, keeping everybody on their toes, indispensable, and a real treasure that we have her. And it's so fortunate for all of us as a community. So let's go downstairs, celebrate dance.